Hello everyone, my name's Scott and I'm with North Range Behavioral Health, and welcome to another episode of Cooking with Scott. Just kidding, this is the only episode of Cooking with Scott, and in fact we're not even really going to be talking about cooking as much today as we're talking about mindfulness. So I'm going to be demonstrating mindfulness by cooking. So this is Coffee with a Counselor. I would encourage you to grab a cup of coffee or some hot beverage. Take a few minutes, sit down, relax, and I guarantee this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of mistakes. I've got everything laid out here in front of me, so surely something will go wrong. I'm going to be demonstrating mindfulness by also talking about the five senses. I'm going to do a little bit of skill building like throughout the video. And what is mindfulness, you ask? So mindfulness would be living in the present. So one of the ancient philosophers once said, to live in the past is depression, to live in the future is anxiety, but to live in the present is nirvana. So, and I'm not talking about a 1970s or 80s grunge rock band. I'm talking about living in a state of peace or tranquility. So what I want to demonstrate through this is working harder to live in the present and honestly engaging in what you're doing. So if it's cooking, engage in your cooking and don't just make something so that you can run off and go do the next thing. Now there's times when we all do that. Microwaves are great. I have one myself. I use that. But if you're always just nuking something in the microwave just so you can go scroll Facebook, nothing wrong with Facebook. I'm on here right now, not dishing it. If you're going to sit down and watch Netflix, I do that as well. But there should be a time when you can take time out, have all other distractions put aside, and engage in this and realize that right now in the present is where peace is. So let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to select some tools of the trade. So if you watched my last video, I'm a blacksmith by trade, so I take my knives fairly seriously. Start with this one. All right. This one might be a little bit of overkill even for me. I don't think that's probably going to work for our intended task. Yeah, not a bad chopper, but probably is still a little bit too large. So let's go to, I like the looks of this one. This is an ulu. So I'm going to use this to start cutting a little bit of meat that I have here. This is actually some venison. We harvest a lot of our own meat. And start doing a little bit of cutting. For me, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone because I'm used to just cutting meat or preparing and not having to talk at the same time. So hopefully you won't see me cut myself today. I actually have a skillet on the stove behind me. I'm going to start it heating and I'm going to add a little bit of garlic to it. And for me, when I cook, I just kind of go off of past experience. I don't think you can mess it up too bad. But I always say when you're adding garlic, you add that with your heart. There is no measurement. Depends on how much you like garlic. I really like garlic clove. One of the skills that I was going to try to work on a little bit today was some really simple ways to just sharpen a knife. I think it's really difficult to get anything done with a dull tool. And sometimes I'll go over to somebody else's house and I'll grab a knife and jump in and try to help out. And it's so dull, you can't get like any of the things done that you need to get done. So I'm going to show a couple of really simple ways to go about that. And the right knife for the job is the one that actually fits the task you're doing. I like the ulu because it has a little bit of an offset blade to it. I made this one. All right, I started on this meat before. I cheated a little bit because I knew it would take me a while to cut that up. It's actually been marinating in an amino acid, so it's going to give it kind of a teriyaki type flavor. I'm going to go ahead and scoop this into the pan. Okay, the meat is starting. So what I want to do, I'm actually going to use a sharpening stone. This is just a cheap, like hardware variety stone. It has two sides. One is fairly rough, one's a little bit finer. This was probably like a $10 stone. You do not need a really fancy sharpening stone. Another one that's kind of the same. All you really need to do is, let's find a knife, likely suspect here. Take it and lay it on your stone and lift the edge up until you can see it make contact. So there shouldn't be a gap in here at all. And when you get to that point, try to cut a thin slice off the stone. Once you've done that side, come back the other direction and do the same thing. Cut a thin slice. If you're not getting an edge on that, like if you feel like it's still dull when you go to use it, increase the angle of the knife blade a little bit. And it doesn't matter what you're sharpening. I was using this axe for a joke. This is actually a Nordic battle axe, but same thing. And I actually use this axe, so I'm going to sharpen it. Now, one time, one of our clients in programming showed me a really neat trick. Was to actually use the underside of a coffee cup, the ceramic edge, will put a quick edge on a knife. So you can do the same thing. And I'm kind of wondering on what the statute of limitations is for a stolen coffee cup, because that looks suspiciously like a Perkins cup. I'm not really sure how we wound up with this, but I have no knowledge. So if, yeah, don't rat me out. So let's give this a try. I'm going to cut my notes up. Yeah, so just that, put enough of an edge on that it'll slice through that. So what I want you to think about as you're preparing your food, let's start out with sight. Like, where are you? Like, what do you see? You know, what kind of things around you are in your area? Is it your family? Is it your pets? And I do have a studio audience of pets around here somewhere. I don't know where they went, but usually they're badgering me while I'm cooking. Do you feel safe? You know, are you in your comfort zone? Is your kitchen like a happy place for you? I like my kitchen. It's warm in here. I live out to the east. I live out in the dry lands, and I can see it like blowing and cold outside. The sun is shining, but it is cold. So I would rather be in here preparing my food than anywhere else right now. So as far as touch, what kind of things can you sense? Is it the food? So this pepper it's a little wrinkly. You know, to be honest, it was kind of aging out a little bit. It's still good, but it'll be a good thing to like cook this up and utilize it today. But I can feel the texture of this food. I can feel that I have one of my favorite hoodies on that I forgot to take off before I started this presentation. I can feel the handle of a knife that I made. I take a lot of pride in the tools that I make and being able to use them. I better get to slicing and dicing here. So once again, like a good knife should be effortless as far as being able to go through what you're working on. As far as sound, what kind of things can you hear in your environment? Now, generally, I like to put my favorite music on cable TV and listen to that while I'm cooking. I don't want the TV on because that's too much of a distraction for me, but I do kind of like to hum along with music on my phone or on the television. As far as smell, what kind of things can you smell around you? Is it the food you're preparing? Is it the smell of warmth? Is it the smell of the season? To me, each season has its own smell to it. So right now, as we're kind of going into like winter, it's a little bit bleak outside. You know, it's kind of, I don't have the springtime smells, I don't have the summer, but I kind of like that bleakness. As far as taste, did you anticipate what you were cooking before you started on it? So was there like a particular thing that you wanted and now you're going to go do it instead of just like trolling through the fridge and grabbing Hot Pockets or whatever? I mean, Hot Pockets taste good, but I've gotten to the point where I'm a person that I don't really enjoy eating out that much because I can pretty much cook the things that I want. So far we've talked about sight, touch, hearing, smell, and taste. So these are kind of the hallmarks of being in a moment. Is if you're in any situation, it doesn't have to be cooking, but take a minute and look at the things around you. Look what's going on. I don't know, maybe if you're sitting in an airport, what can you smell? Is it airport food? What can you touch? Is it the plastic seat you're sitting on? What is it that, what did I miss? Taste. I don't know what you want to taste in an airport. You might have to come up with that one on your own. But the point being is that you want to be in the moment while you're doing what you're doing. There was a movie on several years ago, and a lot of times, I love philosophy, and a lot of times fairly mundane movies and songs speak to me. And I think this was an Adam Sandler film where he was a young guy and he had the opportunity, he had a magic remote control. So he could actually flip himself through periods of his life that he didn't want to do. And at that point in my life, when I saw that movie, I have a feeling that's what I was doing, because it kind of haunted me a little bit. Because what he did is he fast-forwarded himself through his own kids' childhood. He fast-forwarded through like the best years of his marriage just to avoid like difficult work situations. So what my point would be is that if you're constantly thinking about the next vacation you're going to take, the next time you're going to go out and eat, if you're even just living for the weekend, I love Saturday and Sunday, but man, what a waste. If you're wasting Monday through Friday and you're not living your life, that's, I don't know what the percentage is. I was not a good student, honestly, in math in school or in any class, but you get the gist. You're actually like, you're missing out on the finest qualities of your life if you do that. So I'm going to take a minute and just kind of be quiet, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Hopefully I really am live and people are watching this. It says live on there, but I'm like the least tech savvy person you're ever going to meet in your life. All right. A little bit of red pepper. I'm going to do an onion here that I have. I got to be honest, I bought this, we got this onion from the store, but this time of year when they're harvesting onions, I'm not above like stopping and picking up an onion that fell off the harvest truck, like laying in the median. I know that's like weird, but yeah, it washes up the same as everything else. I don't know if you can hear that meat sizzling in the background or how good the sound is on my phone. There. But it sounds delicious already, and this literally is what I'm having for dinner. Like I mentioned before, this is venison that I do a fair amount of like cutting up of meat, butchering, so this is stuff that I actually cut up myself. And that's not necessarily, you can go to the store and buy the meat that you want, but I would encourage everyone, if you haven't done it before, consider starting with raw vegetables and raw meats and making things from scratch. Really, so far, I only have 1, 2, 3, like 4 ingredients in that whole dish. So I've got some meat, I got some garlic clove in there, came out of a bottle. Got some red pepper and some olive oil. And you're not going to learn how to be like a gourmet chef from me. So if you're a big Gordon Ramsay fan, you're going to walk away seriously disappointed today. But one thing that I can teach is don't be afraid to try new dishes. Don't be afraid to like step out and take a recipe out of a book or online. Actually, YouTube is probably the best source of like a lot of recipes. And just try something. All right, I'm gonna throw a couple, I've got some jalapenos that I've raised this summer. They're getting a little bit old too. Most of these go into sausages that I'm making. but I kind of need to get rid of them at this point. I need a little bit of green in that dish. I'm all about presentation, and so far I have reds and whites, and without a green in there, it's just not going to look right. So a word to the wise, if you haven't worked with jalapenos a lot, don't cut up jalapenos and then go rub your eyes, and that will be the end of your day for a while. So yeah, the oil on these things can be pretty aggressive. I'm gonna go back to my ulu knife, wherever it is. So far I haven't cut myself, so we're doing good. I think I'm gonna try to get rid of all of these. There used to be a time where cooking, cutting up meat, doing all those things, I found to just be purely tedious. And I would go into it going, oh my gosh, you know, it's like, this is gonna take forever. And I really just wanted to go out and eat. Now I'm to the point where I actually look forward to this time, just by myself and working in the kitchen and preparing a good meal. And I think the thing that changed, it wasn't the food, it wasn't the situation, it was the way I view it. Of that, I don't want to waste my life tearing through food prep just so I can go do some ridiculous activity that has even less meaning. I'm going to refer to my notes here so I don't miss anything that I was going to do. I'm going to try to move the camera over here a little bit so we can see what we're doing. I don't know that that's going to be like done by the time, there we go, by the time we actually are done with this video. But I actually have a bed of rice like all ready to dump that on. I don't know if you can see that. It's going to look real pretty when I'm done, right before I eat it. So the thing that we set up to talk about today was mindfulness. And I think with so many stressors going on in the world, a lot of people are telling me this has been an extremely difficult year for them for a variety of reasons. I would contend that like everything in life, there's a flip side. So along with the stress and with the anxiety, there is also good that goes along with it. And some of the good might be being at home and being able to engage in some of these activities that normally we wouldn't have done. So it doesn't have to be cooking. It can be whatever you want it to be. If you always wanted to build a doghouse for your dog from scratch, I don't know, that would be a mindfulness activity. If you want to learn how to play a musical instrument, we may be talking about that in subsequent videos. Might be the time to do that. So the takeaways that I would want you to have for today is, are you fast forwarding through your life? Are you going to work or going through your daily activities going, come on, you know, 5 o'clock, you know, let's get there so I can go do that. You've wasted a good portion of the best part of your day just waiting for that time to roll around. And I know I've devoted a fair amount of my life to living exactly like that. And that's why I have changed and gone more of the mindfulness route. If you feel like you're constantly worried and you're anxious, are you living in the future? Are you worried about what's going to happen next? Sure, that's wise. There's a lot of real fears out there in the world. But honestly, the most important moment of my life right now is talking to you this very second. Because the future, it hasn't happened yet. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 minutes, really. I assume I'll be done with this video. But really, the most important time in my life is this second right now, because I sort of control this one. If I'm worried about the past or worried about what I said, what I did, did I waste my life, you know, as a young person, it's pointless. It's done. We learn our lessons and we move on so that we can be in this moment. So I would encourage you to think in terms of, what are you doing right now? If it's drinking a cup of coffee, you can apply the 5 senses to this. I love coffee. So to me, it's the feel, it's the heat of the cup. My hands have gotten a little bit sore as I've gotten older, arthritis type stuff, so I love the heat of a good cup of coffee. It's the smell. I love black coffee, and this is truly like jet black coffee. That's, whoops, didn't mean to dump that all over the kitchen. It's the sight. You know, this is a very like appealing cup. The taste, for me, I want to enjoy my cup of coffee. So I don't want to be like rushing through this cup of coffee thinking about what I'm going to say to you next. It's more about I can enjoy both of these things right now. So what my question to everybody would be, and I don't know why this occurred to me one time, but if you were stuck on the moon or on the backside of the moon, I think it's because of that one movie, Apollo 13, where they get stuck on the backside of the moon. That kind of haunted me a little bit. And you were staring down at Earth, what would you miss the most? So would it be your family? Would it be your pets? Would it be warmth? Would it be food, water, love? Or would it be Facebook or politics? Or would you be sitting there obsessing on the backside of the moon about where you're going to host Christmas, or what you're going to cook for Christmas dinner, or what you're going to buy, or what you're going to get? Would it be Netflix? Would you miss Netflix the most? So sometimes when I'm just a little bit unhappy, I'll think, if I was stuck on the backside of the moon right now, what would I miss the most? And probably it would be this warm house. And it would be good food. It would be my family first, then the warm house. Yeah. Hopefully they're not all watching this right now, totally judging me. But as always, you know, I hope this has been helpful to you and brought some peace in your life. I do have the blurb that I need to read from North Range, and I'm going to read it verbatim. So that if you or someone you know is experiencing a behavioral health emergency, call our crisis line at 970-347-2120, or walk into our crisis center at the 928 12th Street building, right downtown there, or text TALK, T-A-L-K in uppercase, to 38255. You can also talk to Colorado Spirit COVID-19 Support Warm Line at 970-347-2359 if you just need to talk. So if you just need to reach out to somebody, do that. A lot of people are experiencing a lot of stress right now, and it is a time to reach out and help each other. I hope this has been entertaining or helpful for you, or at least give you a little bit of food for thought, pardon the pun. And I appreciate you showing up and doing this today. So I'm going to take one more look at this food, and let's see where it's like progressed onto. I don't know if you can hear that. To me, it smells wonderful. This is what I'm having for dinner after we get done here. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. I wish you peace in your life, and I hope that you can go off and practice mindfulness and find some tranquility. Thank you. Bye.